So welcome to CSL TV. Now, just in case you guys haven't picked on to what kind of channel this is just a review reaction channel as well as an informational channel. If you're new, go ahead and smash that subscribe button. Go ahead, help your boy out. It's free. You're doing a good deed and it's free. Like, comment down below. You know what I'm saying? And right now we about to get into the video of how some of these police officers abuse their power, use their power, and you know what I'm saying, did crazy shit with their power and all that stupid shit with the power that got their ass caught up. So, as always, you guys have a beautiful, blessed day. Let's get it.
This story out of Oregon is nuts. It all went down in Salem when, in the middle of a rainy day, an armed man is seen running across the interstate trying to break into several cars. Dashcam captures this attempted carjacking, including the moment when the man appears to point a gun, fire, and walk in the opposite direction of traffic on the road. When a cop arrives on the scene, his dashcam captures the armed man going up to more cars before he runs off the side of the road.
Get on the ground! Get on the ground! Get on the ground! Get on the ground now! Get on the ground! Counting 1, 2, 5, 4 north. He's got a gun. Get on the ground now!
As the officer pursues the armed man, things quickly escalate.
Hey!
The armed man begins to shoot at the officer, who returns fire as he retreats to his car. He remarks he's been struck by something.
I'm hit! I'm hit! Hold it in!
The officer reloads his gun, and the shootout with the armed man continues.
Get on the ground!
The man appears to go down during the exchange.
Shots fired! Shots fired! Subject's down! 1299!
This is when things take an unexpected turn. As the officer radios in what's going down,
Shots fired! 1299! I was hit by something!
another person runs towards the cop on the side of the road, holding something in his hand.
He's still moving! I was hit by something! I don't know what.
It turns out the thing in the stranger's hand is a police badge, and he wants to help.
You got a rifle in the gun in the car?
Yeah.
You want me to get it, or you want me to hold him? I just went to Canada. I left my gun at home.
The stranger says he's a retired deputy.
You want me to hold him, or you want me to get your rifle?
Just stay back there.
Okay.
Can I see your badge again?
Yeah, I'm retired officer, County, Washington.
And a moment later, the officer reaches into his pant leg, pulls out a pistol, and hands it to him. The stranger then posts up behind the cop car and covers the officer as he radios in the situation.
He's still moving. He's on the ground across the creek. I was hit by something.
Backup then begins to arrive
I have one off-duty Pierce County deputy with a firearm with me.
as more cops roll up with more firepower.
You sweeps on him, I'll hold cover. Okay.
A cop checks out the officer originally on the scene for any injuries.
Not hit at all.
I was hit by something.
Okay.
As the stranger and more backup continue to watch the armed man on the ground.
Don't reach for anything.
Police and medics soon got a hold of the armed man and provided him with medical treatment, but the 31-year-old suspect ended up dying on the scene. This all went down last month, and it turns out the first officer on the scene was likely grazed by a bullet but didn't require medical care. The DA's office investigated the entire incident, and a few weeks ago, a grand jury determined the officer's deadly use of force was justified.
Back in 2018, the former Jackson County deputy, Zachary Wester, was caught red-handed for planting drugs on innocent people.
Zachary Wester, an officer with the department since 2016, was said to be planting drugs in cars, leading to a slew of false charges.
He was suspended immediately, and then 3 years later his case went to trial. This is a case of an abuse of power by a law enforcement officer whose duty was to serve the people. Wester's primary victims were drivers. He would stop passing drivers for random traffic checks. Once the unsuspecting drivers got out of their cars and moved away, he would plant the drugs inside the vehicle and present it as evidence in order to arrest them.
Yeah, I will in just a minute.
Stephen Van was a victim of one of these supposed checks. Van was a formerly convicted felon who had just recently gotten out of jail when he was stopped by Wester. In his testimony, Van said that he allowed the officer to search his vehicle, claiming that he had nothing to hide. But lo and behold, Wester ended up finding methamphetamine in his car.
Have you ever seen this before?
No, what is that?
However, as luck turns out, the sheriff deputy's own body cam would be enough evidence to do him in, especially in the case of Teresa Odom. In the body cam footage, it can be seen that Wester came off as a bit friendly toward Odom at the beginning.
You see my hip give out right then? Good Lord.
I just don't even need to know.
He then asked her to step out of the car. Odom, believing that she's got nothing to hide in her vehicle, complied with the officer's orders. As she stepped away from her car, the deputy prepared for the search. As Wester was getting ready to put his gloves on, his own body cam caught a small bag hiding away in his left hand. The prosecution believes that this is the same small bag that Wester claims to have found next to a spoon in the car. Wester, however, categorically denied putting any illegal substances in the car.
Drug paraphernalia.
He testified, "The drugs were there. I did not put the narcotics there." Wester was charged with 67 counts of racketeering, fabricating evidence, false imprisonment, and possession of controlled substances. He pleaded not guilty to all charges. After 5 days and several witnesses later, the jury was finally ready with its verdict. Out of the 67 charges, Wester was found guilty of 19, including the unjustified arrests of Stephen Van and Teresa Odom. In July 2021, the corrupt officer was sentenced to 12.5 years in state prison.
So you mean to tell me this guy was going around playing drugs on people for no reason, just so he can make it seem like he doing something great to the community? And it's sad that he was messing with folks that's already had prior convictions on them, and he was doing this type of scum shit to make it where it was damn near impossible for them to get their stuff together. Because if you get, I don't know if they do the 3-strike rule like Cali, but if you get caught doing the same thing repeatedly and going to jail for it, you know, it gets tough.
In Monroe County, Georgia, a cop was recorded asking for sexual favors from one of his arrested victims. Bill Miller had been with the Georgia Police Department since 2014. Back in April 2018, he joined the department as a sheriff's deputy. But it was this incident that would end up destroying his whole career. In July 2018, Miller arrested Ashley Roberts for driving under the influence and possession of meth. A few weeks after Roberts had made bond, Miller texted her and asked her to meet up with him in the parking lot. When she did, the officer asked her to get in his vehicle and offered her some beer. According to Roberts, Miller drove his pickup truck out to a dirt road, and that's when things started to become fishy. Thankfully, Roberts had the presence of mind to quietly turn on her cell phone voice recorder without him finding out. Miller told Roberts that her DUI charges would go away if she was willing to do some sexual favors for him. On the voice recordings, the officer can be heard clearly saying that all he has to do is talk to the DA to waive her charges. The conversation progressively got more and more disturbing. Miller repeatedly kept piling on Roberts with inappropriate requests, in the guise of trying to help her out. Roberts, however, did not budge and kept turning the officer down.
You come over here. I ain't gonna jump on your ass, I promise you. I mean, I'm good. I'm all right.
On a lonely dirt road in Monroe County, an off-duty cop wants a woman he recently arrested to do him a favor.
After this whole incident took place, Roberts reported it to several news agencies. She provided them with the recordings and later got the Monroe County investigators involved.
Hey, buddy. Oh, yeah, we got the recording. Would you like to hear the recording? I've got it right here. You can listen to it.
In her statement to Fox 5 Atlanta, she said, "I told him I'd go to prison if it takes me doing something sexual with you, sir." Miller was subsequently arrested in August 2018. After the investigation was completed, he was fired from his position in the Monroe County Sheriff's Department. The county's interim sheriff at the time, Al Shackelford, told Fox 5 Atlanta that the agency was shocked and disappointed. "Law enforcement should be held to a higher standard," he said in his statement after Miller's arrest, calling the situation a slap to all law enforcement.
This was a slap to all law enforcement people, the men and women of this office and the men and women that protect us everywhere.
The Monroe County District Attorney, Jonathan Adams, also reported that Miller agreed not to ask for first offender status. If given the first offender status, Miller would have served some time on probation or possibly jail. But after serving his time, an order of discharge will be given. This would have allowed Miller's case to be dismissed without him getting convicted.
Not even John? No. I'm just messing with you. I think you like it, but... No, I'm kidding. You probably would like it.
However, according to the DA, this way the conviction will follow him for the rest of his life. He won't ever be able to be a law enforcement officer again.
Deputy Miller, while you have the chance.
After the case went to trial, Miller was found guilty and convicted of felony bribery and violating the oath of office. But despite these charges, he will not be serving any time in prison. However, he will spend 8 years on probation with a $2,000 fine. Along with these penalties, he also will not be able to enter, travel through, or visit Monroe, Lamar, or Butts counties. The ban will remain in effect until Miller's probation is complete.
You got this scumbag ass cop who's technically raping women and having them doing things against their own will, if you really think about it. I mean, why would you jokingly tell them to meet you up at a certain spot and say what you say? Boy, this is only the second guy and I'm already like, man, y'all is really messed up. And this is just the ones that got caught. We don't know about the ones that haven't got caught and what type of corrupt, I can't even speak. Because this shit is just so fucked up to me. Like, what kind of corrupt cop? You know what I'm saying? Like, damn, I hate to be in one of these people's situations, man.
In Detroit, 2 police officers got caught in a bribing incident involving a towing company. Officer Daniel Vickers and his childhood friend, former Detroit Police Lieutenant John F. Kennedy, teamed up in 2017. They conspired with an unidentified towing contractor and offered him protection in exchange for money and other valuable assets. In November 2017, Vickers gave the towing contractor his word that they wouldn't have to worry about the ongoing Police Integrity Unit's investigation into the company. Tower A, which is the official's name in the indictment papers, promised that Vickers and Kennedy would be getting free cars for doing this. "If I know I'm good, I'm gonna line them up," Tower A said to Vickers. "I got two for Kennedy's kids and the one for you. He's got a Chrysler 200, the Fusion, and the Beamer." Both police officials knew exactly what they were doing. They knew that they were violating the city's rules that prohibit a towing company from receiving referrals if it is not on the department's rotation. Kennedy, who was the supervisor of the department's integrity unit, used his influence over other officers and violated these rules. According to federal law enforcement officials, during the period of this whole deal, Vickers made $3,400 from the towing company, while his partner Kennedy accepted $14,950 in cash, cars, and repairs. A year after being taken into custody and accused of several counts of bribery and bribery conspiracy in a federal indictment, Vickers finally pleaded guilty to his role in the conspiracy to commit bribery in October. This former officer's actions are completely unacceptable for anyone who's sworn to protect and serve our city as a Detroit police officer. Detroit Police Chief James White said in his statement, while U.S. Attorney Dawn Eisen commented, "Any police officer who chooses the path of corruption should understand that we will not tolerate unethical conduct from our public officials at any level." Vickers is now serving 27 months in federal prison, the longest and harshest sentence to date for someone convicted in a public corruption case. His partner Kennedy, on the other hand, has pled guilty to the charges and will be sentenced in the near future. Kevin Rodriguez.
Here we go again, looking at these people bribing people, making them feel like, oh, it's okay. You ain't gonna get looked into. You ain't gonna look at them. You ain't go this. You ain't go that. And now they ain't even on the fucking police force no more.
Kevin Rodriguez was a former police officer in the Raleigh Police Department. This corrupt officer got involved in a case of selling cocaine while on the job. Investigations into the officer's suspicious activities began in November 2021. Confidential sources tipped off the Raleigh Police Department and the DEA about Rodriguez. Then in January 2022, a whole operation was orchestrated where Rodriguez would meet up with a confidential informant while he was still on duty. The 34-year-old officer sold the informant $2,600 worth of cocaine at an old abandoned car dealership. He was consequently arrested in February 2022. In a recent hearing in federal court, the former officer pled guilty to the charges against him. The charges included conspiracy to distribute and possess with intent to distribute 500 grams or more of cocaine, distribution of a quantity of cocaine, and use of a firearm in furtherance of a drug trafficking offense. He was also found guilty of smoking paraphernalia while in his jail cell, leading to a possession of contraband charge against him as well. Mr. Rodriguez's actions betrayed the public trust, dishonored the oath he swore to uphold, and discredited his character, said the Raleigh Police Chief Estella Patterson. "I am pleased to see that justice was served and appropriately administered in this case. As punishment, the 34-year-old former officer will permanently give up his law enforcement certification. Not just that, according to the Department of Justice, he will be barred from any certification in North Carolina. Expressing his concern over the case, U.S. Attorney Michael Easley said, "Kevin Rodriguez violated his sworn oath to protect and serve. He will never again wear the badge and never again tarnish the honorable profession of policing, to which countless brave men and women have committed their lives."
Dang, this guy up here trapping cocaine in a police uniform and shit, trying to, you know what I'm saying, get down and all this other stuff. Like, what in the hell is gotten into you, boy? You and took that uniform and swore that oath, all that stuff, just to be a trap boy. You should have just became a trap boy and not messed with the police department if that's what your intentions was to begin with anyway. Because, as they say, you don't need no uniform with that type of mentality.